And good afternoon, and we are joining you right now on Facebook. I'm Tim Callahan in the 23 ABC studios with breaking news that we're tracking east of Bakersfield. If you've been following along with this fire that we have, it's a wildfire that started at about 20 acres, has now exploded to 400 acres. We want to take you to the live pics right now. Our crew's perched really high above this fire. As we look, one of the helicopter crews there has been making water drops. We're told that other aircraft has been called into the area. And if our crews can hear us there on the scene, there is a shot that puts this into perspective, just how fast this fire is moving. There are several homes that have been threatened in the area, and there is one point in one of these cameras as we follow this helicopter around, you can see the fire burning just within a few yards of what looks to be a home with some sort of horse stables in the area. If you're familiar with this, this is Comanche Drive and Breckenridge Road. It's essentially just south of the Rio Bravo Country Club, and in between the 178 and the Highway 58. We can, as we see one of those water drops happening live right now, crews making an aggressive firefight on this 400-acre wildfire that's burning at this hour. And as we mentioned, there is one shot that we can frame up here that kind of puts this in perspective. We're coming back to it right now. There is that home there on your right side of the screen, and that home right there on the left as we center in there. That is where crews have been focusing their attention in the last 30 minutes or so, as we saw that helicopter drop water right to the, that would be north of that property line there, as those fire and smoke there you can see getting pretty close to that property line. Again, this is now a 400-acre fire happening east of Bakersfield. This is just about a mile or two south of the Rio Bravo Country Club. If you know that area, there's a few little hills that separate the Country Club neighborhood in that area to where this is. And so this is really burning in that hilly area just east of Comanche Drive. Again, firefighters just about 20 minutes ago confirming to 23 ABC News that this fire has now grown to 400 acres and is still growing at this hour. We no containment at this point, as this fire broke out just about 2:30 this afternoon. Kern County fire crews getting the initial call. They activated what they call is a wildland response. That includes, as you saw there, helicopters, aircraft that will come from the surrounding area, as well as hand crews and Kern County fire crews that are making a pretty aggressive fight on this. But as you can see here in this live picture right now, this fire getting pretty close to some homes. At the onset of this, around 2:30 this afternoon, they did say several homes were threatened, but not evacuated. This situation may be changing as we see this fire getting pretty close to these two different structures. Again, not confirmation if this is a home. It did look to be residential. There's a home to the right there, some sort of trailer. And then as you can see there, there was, if we can zoom this shot in, if our crews can hear us, there is some kind of stables or some kind of equestrian property out there, as we saw that helicopter just drop in some water right to the north of that property. As that fire line, you can see there the charred grass getting pretty close to that fire. So we're talking, we can switch back here and give you a perspective on our roof cam in downtown Bakersfield, just to show you how far back this fire we can see. This is our downtown Bakersfield perspective. You can see towards the hills of East Bakersfield that this is a pretty large fire. As you can see the smoke there and the blackened, charred land there. This fire again happening around 2:30 this afternoon, triggering an all-out response from Kern County Fire, as this fire really, in their words, exploded in size, going from 20 acres, went to 100, 200, now 400 acres as that fire continues. We do have 23 ABC's Andrew Worth. He's live at the scene. Andrew, you made your way out there just a few moments ago. What do you see from your perspective, and fire crews able to get a handle on this?
Yes, they're working right now. Right now it's 0% containment, and you can see that right now. The fire is actually burning kind of just as it pleases right now, and crews are working to keep it away. You see the ranch home down there is what you saw that airdrop happen right next to. That's the one home really that's in any kind of threatening stance right now. There were 6 homes where this originated over in the Breckenridge Estates area, which is right off of Breckenridge Road, about a mile to 2 miles from Comanche Road. This is very out into the hills, so this is a lot of ranch land, but that home right there that you saw, that's the one that they're most worried about right now. They have crews watching the other 6, and they've been able to hold that line, and the wind is actually helping them as well. Normally when you hear windy situations with a fire, that's not a good thing, but this actually, the wind is pushing east, and you can tell by the smoke when you look at it that it actually is helping them. So they've been able to keep those 6 safe, and now they're focusing on that one.
Andrew, any indication that that home was evacuated or any other evacuations in place right now?
No, when we spoke with the public information officer for Kern County Fire, he said that they're just working on it right now. He was getting here pretty much right in front of us. We drove up right behind him. He got as much info for us as he could, which was very awesome of him. He was very helpful to get what he could, and he said he'll check back with us every 30 minutes or so. And as you guys just heard, 400 acres, this continues to burn, but we don't know if there's been evacuations there. We know the other 6 are safe. And they probably gave out those preliminary evacuations saying, hey, watch this fire, just be careful, be ready to go if you have to, but those, like I said, are safe. This one is really in jeopardy right now.
Yeah, and Andrew, as we can see here as we look live now, again, this fire burning just east of Bakersfield, 400 acres confirmed. Those flames, as you can see in that shot, Andrew, coming pretty close to that line there. We did see a firefighter in the distance, at least one we can see on the ground there, that looks to be essentially standing watch on the ground right on that property line.
Yes, they have that pretty much surrounded, just like they did the other 6 homes in the Breckenridge Estates area. They'll have that. That's their main priority right now, because there's a lot of dead grass and open land out here, and that fire can jump and do what it pleases, but they want to make sure that, if anything, that is safe. You can see the truck coming out from the back side of that. I'm guessing that's probably a Kern County Fire truck. I can't tell from just normal view right here, but no, they'll have that house as their main priority, and if the rest of the hill burns and that house is safe, they'll say that it was a successful fire, I would think. But there was at least 2 other fires in this general area. We knew there was one about a month and a half ago or so out near Lake Ming.
Yeah.
And fire crew said if it meets up with that fire, that actually is helpful for them, because that's less of this dead grass for them to have to worry about, and it kind of acts as like another crew in a sense, where it'll just burn right up to it, and then there's nothing else to fuel it, so it'll just continue to move along, and that helps them.
Andrew, give us an idea, when you were heading into this area, road closures going on right now. What's the access people can get if they have to come through that area in terms of Comanche or going to the Rio Bravo area? Was there any sort of road closures that folks should know about?
Not that I saw. When I was coming up off of Comanche, I turned off of Highway 178 onto Comanche, and I took that all the way to Breckenridge. There weren't any closures yet. That doesn't mean that that won't happen, because they have a plethora of crews. It's been nonstop trucks coming in and out of the area as they get more hands up here to get some containment on this, but I didn't see anything. There could possibly be a closure now at Comanche, is what we were hearing, right at Comanche where Breckenridge starts. That would be the one place that we would see a closure, most likely, to allow trucks in and out, and less general public other than homeowners up here. But no, no closures that we saw now. We came up here and we got here at about 2:45 or so, and it's very scarce up here for signal, so I'm glad we found a spot that we could show everybody this. And it actually extends, if I have our photographer pan back over to the left here, it actually starts on the other side of this major hill here. You can see the charred hillside that extends all the way over for another couple hundred feet to yards, and that's really where it started, right next to those homes, and then now it's just made its way further and further east, and that's what it'll continue to do.
All right, Andrew, and I'm just reading a comment here. Folks in Fraser Park apparently responding to our Facebook comments here online, saying they can smell the fire all the way up in Fraser Park, and that would, Andrew, the way you were describing the way this is burning and the way the winds are blowing, that could very well be that if those winds are blowing east and somewhat south, folks in Fraser Park would start to, in the mountain communities, would start to smell and perhaps see this as well. Again, if you're just joining us here, on our Facebook page or our live turn23.com live stream. You can see here we are talking about a 400-acre wildfire and growing at this hour. Kern County fire crews as well as air attack going on right now. This is happening east of Bakersfield, essentially just south of the Rio Bravo Country Club and just east of Comanche and Breckenridge, that intersection there. You can see a pretty active fire as we see the flames there, the heavy smoke. As firefighters just a moment ago, we saw it live, essentially came down low into a home right on to the right of your screen that was threatened by this fire and dropped a significant amount of water. As we pan over to it, you can see just how close we're talking about. That home right there, those flames right above it on that hillside. That fire getting dangerously close, but to the credit of Kern County firefighters, they were able to, it looks like, essentially save that home as that fire has now moved, judging it now as we look, to a more comfortable distance away from that home and what looks to be some sort of either farmland or some sort of equestrian center there. So good news there as in terms of any homes that are potentially damaged. But again, this is a large fire. Lots of people calling in to report seeing it from downtown Bakersfield. I would assume the mountain communities now are not getting nervous, but certainly they can look down to the valley floor and see some sort of activity and some sort of smoke. But again, this really is burning in a somewhat rural area. As you can see, there are homes, but not any subdivisions or any sort of areas that of concentrated homes that would give firefighters any mass concern. But again, they're going to want to get a handle on this as the winds, we can see they're somewhat significant and somewhat to talk about. I want to bring in Leah Pizzetti. She's in our weather center today. Leah, you're pulling up the traffic map right now. We can take that in just a moment, but talk about this area as we swing our camera around to get to you there. Yep, you can see the tower cam behind you. Talk about the winds today, the weather conditions we're seeing, and is that going to help this at all? Yeah, thankfully we're not seeing crazy winds right now, but yeah, look at this live camera, or roof cam. You can see the flames burning over here. You see these black hills behind these hills that have not burnt yet, so we are definitely watching those hills. You can see right now in Bakersfield, we're 96 degrees, so it is hot right now. That is not helping those conditions, but we do have a northwest wind of 13 miles per hour right now. That does mean it's blowing from the northwest down to the southeast. You can see Bakersfield is going in this direction, so that is going to be blowing it kind of away from Bakersfield, but more towards the southeast is where those winds will be going. And tracking these winds over the next couple hours, we're looking at pretty mellow winds tonight, Saturday, right around 5:30 a.m. We're looking at southeast, same thing, 4-mile-per-hour winds, so very mild winds tonight, which will be good for those, preventing those flames from spreading any more. Tomorrow, though, yeah, those winds staying pretty mild. We're hanging out 8-mile-per-hour winds, northwest winds, Sunday at 10 p.m. So yeah, we're definitely going to be tracking those winds. That'll be a big thing. Our air quality right now, we do have at 97 for tomorrow in the moderate range. But if this smoke does affect us, as we heard people in Fraser Park are smelling that smoke, that could affect our air quality for tomorrow. Hopefully it'll clear out though by the time 4th of July comes. Yeah, taking a look at our map, we see Bakersfield over here. This is where we're looking at that fire right over here. Let's zoom on in. So yep, it's these hills over here that are burning right now east of Bakersfield. One more live look at these mountains. You can see those charred hills in the background. These hills here in the front have not burned yet, and we're looking at these flames over on this side. So yeah, we'll definitely be tracking those winds, but they're looking pretty mild right now for the most part. Leah, that's good news. Thank you for that update. We'll continue to check in with you if any things change. Let's go now. CAL FIRE is putting this on their website officially as an incident, which usually in these situations there's a certain category of acreage and a certain response that triggers that notification. So at their website is saying 200 acres. Our reporting from Kern County Fire is at 400 acres that is burning. As you can see there, no dispute on the fact that this is an active fire. You can see the flames there. And just moments ago, we were watching live as a home essentially spared and saved in this situation as firefighters and the crews there made a water drop, as we can see there on that home center of your screen there, and the flames looking to move away. Andrew Worth, if you're still there with us, want to check back in with you. Any indication of this fire intensifying? I mean, we can see these pictures. Those are some pretty intense flames to the left of the screen there.
Yeah, I couldn't tell you if it's intensifying or not because we're so far away, but there's no control on it, and that's what you're seeing is those flames new spot of, or it'll catch wind and then it'll just blow it right back up and make it a huge flame. Crews, like I said, they're just trying to get a little bit of a handle on this. They really can't do much, especially with all that thick smoke that you're seeing there off to the left of where we are right now. Those are those flames, and yeah, like I said, you can see the wind kind of kick up where we are, and it looks like it's kicking up over there as well. That's really what would make it grow, is the flames and this dead grass.
Yeah, and obviously there is a lot of that. If you're familiar with this area, this is essentially the area between Highway 178 and Highway 58, just south of the Rio Bravo Country Club. A good distance separates that neighborhood from where this fire is going, but that is the general area. The topography just about the same in northeast Bakersfield. These rolling hills, tall grass, of course dry this time of year, which is all leading to this fire being fanned and fueled right now. As we heard from Aaliyah Pizzetti just a moment ago, the wind's not a big factor, but really if you talk to crews in these situations, you don't need a lot of wind, you just need the right conditions, and we're talking about those today. Hot temperatures, dry conditions, of course, that we've had in the past few months, as this fire now growing to more or at 400 acres at this hour, burning just just east of Bakersfield, south of the Rio Bravo Country Club. Again, no evacuations that we know of right at this hour from Kern County Fire. No voluntary evacuations, nothing mentioned so far, but we could assume that the homeowner or property owner that we saw in that home just a moment ago was probably either asked to vacate the area, as firefighters essentially took over that property and helped, what we can see in our pictures, save it, because that fire, that line got dangerously close to that property. That's in fact what prompted us to join you live here, because this fire was getting very close. You see it right there to that property as this 400-acre brush fire continues to burn east of Bakersfield. Good news there, Andrew. Have you been able to come in contact with anyone who either lives in that area or who maybe was passing by?
Yes, just about 2 minutes ago, actually, there's somebody that lives up in this rural part of the hills up here, and she said right now it's kind of being leased as a cattle ranch home type thing, so she wasn't sure if somebody was living there or if it was vacant or not, but she said that somebody very well could be living there at this time, so if that's the case, then they most likely have been told to evacuate. We know in Kern County there's nothing that's mandatory, that's just kind of, this is what we strongly urge you to do, so they could still be there, they could be long gone by now, but that's if there was somebody even there. She wasn't sure. I asked her if she knew the people or person that maybe owned it, and she said it was up for lease, and right now it's just kind of being used as a central area for cattle to kind of come in and make sure that their cows and everything are okay.
Andrew, did she give you a sense of just how nervous she was? I mean, we were watching along here. That fire came pretty close.
She wasn't nervous, because from where we are now, as this helicopter comes over our head, from where we are now, kind of where we're pointing, is she lives back farther that way. Okay. She is nowhere near this right now, so she's safe and she's kind of watching it. Her husband, she said, was about a mile from where we are, also watching it. Yeah. But as you can kind of see, it's moving more south and east than it is north and east, and they live more to the north.
Got it. And as we see those helicopters there, it gives you an idea for just how quickly these crews can really respond and get to these fires. Of course, now we mentioned just a moment ago, CAL FIRE officially reporting this on their website as an incident. This is called the Tarina Fire, the namesake from a small court that is right off Breckenridge Road there. As we see these live pictures, crews making their way into those smoky conditions. As we heard from Andrew just a moment ago, a lot of people, not a super populated area, but there is enough of a presence in that community. Cattle farms, of course, you know, just a little further south of that location, there's several orange groves and several agricultural operations and homes in that area. So no doubt people are going to be nervous to see this amount of smoke, and as we see a wide shot of that picture there, just how much of a swath of land this fire has now covered. As we mentioned, 400 acres, and as we can judge here, actively growing at this hour. Kern County Fire, with the assistance, we saw that helicopter there, CAL FIRE crews, we can assume are making their way or are either involved in this firefight at this hour. Again, what we know, there have been no evacuations ordered. There have been no centers set up or anything in terms of residents. There, as we mentioned, there are a few, but no indication of that. As we get another shot here in the foreground of our picture, it looks to be some sort of plane now making its way closer to this scene. We can get a better sense here in a moment if this is connected to the firefighter or just one passing by. But it is really pretty impressive to see the response. You know, we talk about Erskine fire, we talk about different fires that have happened here in Kern County in the last year. And firefighters are more than prepared. We know from our reporting that they are ready at a moment's notice to really put an all-out response on these incidents. When they call them out, they essentially call out multiple crews, hand crews, engines, battalion chiefs, different water tankers, and as you can see there, an attack from the air as well, which will help minimize this spread. Again, this fire burning just south of the Rio Bravo Country Club and just between Highway 178 and the 58. Again, no word on any sort of closures in this area if traffic is affected. We pulled up the map there and we couldn't see any obvious signs of any sort of road closures, but you're going to see a lot of activity in this area. As you can see, the air crews overhead. You can assume there'll be firefighters making their way on the surface streets, Comanche Drive and Breckenridge Road, getting off Highway 58 or the 178 to attack this fire. So don't be surprised if you're heading home tonight to Northeast Bakersfield if you see some sort of firefighting response to this area.
Yes, Tim, we were told about an hour ago now, I would say, by Kern County Fire that there's 4 air tankers and 2 helicopters. So that, I mean, there could be more now that we don't see, but you saw the 2 helicopters. I can see 2 right now. And the air tankers, I'm guessing, have gone back to possibly reload with that flame retardant because they can only carry so much in one trip. But those helicopters, they're going back and forth from wherever their water pickup is. We've seen with the Lake Ming fire, the Ming fire, they picked up right out of the lake there. So my guess is that they've found a pretty substantial amount of water that they're able to just dip that hose in, grab the water, and then race back over here to drop that and possibly put out live flames, maybe drop it on the grass, to the dead grass, to maybe stop it from going even more through that one area. We see flames kicking up very big right there for a second. It just caught a little bit of a wind and it just kind of does what it wants, and that's what makes firefighting so difficult, and that's why we thank the crews for what they do every time they do this. You talked about Erskine. That started kind of just like this and it grew very fast, and then with the Cedar fire just a few months later, that took off into the forest and it was the same thing. The hills, the mountains, the steep terrain didn't make this any easier to battle.
Andrew, give us an idea from your perspective where you are, because you're essentially, I believe you're looking east, is that right?
No, we are actually looking south right now. I was just talking with the neighbor a few minutes ago, the person that lived up in the hills a little farther, and from where we are now, Bakersfield is to our right, and we are looking south from Comanche Road. That extends very, very far up into the hills. I'm going to see if I can bring up a map on my phone possibly to kind of give you a whereabouts, so maybe where Lake Ming is from where we are now.
Yeah, as we see there.
That's a very big thing because we all know where.
Yeah, we can see those flames, Andrew. Those are pretty big there as we see it going, burning up that hill there.
Yes. So from where we are now, Lake Ming would actually be back north and west of where we are, several miles. So we're not near Lake Ming, but it's kind of, we're probably, as the crow flies, maybe 5 to 10 miles from there. So they could very well be going to Lake Ming to fill up because that's probably the biggest amount of water that they're able to dip those hoses into.
Certainly, and if anyone's watching this from that area, we'd love to see a picture or hear an update from you in our comments section to see what you're seeing. And as Andrew mentioned, the closest water source to this fire would be Lake Ming in this area, or there is a smaller lake near the Rio Bravo Country Club community, but it's certainly Lake Ming trumps that in size. And on this busy 4th of July weekend, we can assume that lots of people may be out at Lake Ming in that area as this weekend gets into full swing. Again, if you're joining us here, this is a 400-acre fire with 0% containment at last check at the Kern County Fire. This is burning in the hills east of Bakersfield, essentially just south of the Rio Bravo Country Club, off Comanche and Breckenridge. That's the major intersection. It just burns a little bit east of that. As we've been joining you here for the better part of 20 minutes now, we did see a home essentially saved in this fire as firefighters were down on the ground. Crews made an aggressive attack with a helicopter, came in there as we give you the perspective from downtown Bakersfield. Certainly lots of people are going to be talking about this fire and seeing it from all aspects, from the mountains and the valley floor. As we mentioned, we do have crews, Andrew Worth and our photographer, standing by at that scene. We have our digital crew also on this. We'll be updating our website, turnto23.com. You can download our mobile and tablet app. If you do not have it, we'll send push alerts as soon as we get them and pass along the information to you so that we can give you the best information that we have at the time and pass that along to you. Again, this 400-acre fire burning just east of Bakersfield. We have crews on there, and we'll bring you the latest in just a few moments, about 30 minutes ahead on 23 ABC News at 5. We're going to continue to put this on our Facebook page so you can follow along with our activity, and Andrew Worth will still be at that scene there, so he'll give us updates as we can. For the entire crew here at 23 ABC News, I'm Tim Callahan. Thanks for joining us here on Facebook. We'll see you in about 30 minutes on 23 ABC News at 5.